We begin with the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Sources are telling CBS News President Trump is considering whether U.S. forces would join Israel in targeting Iranian nuclear sites. Now, the president posted on social media, quote, "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran," end quote. Now, explosions were heard over Tel Aviv last night. The IDF says 2 barrages of Iranian missiles were launched toward Israel. Meanwhile, an Israeli military official says their fighter jet struck around 20 targets in Tehran. The Israeli ambassador to the U.S. joined the takeout last night to discuss Israel's ongoing operation.
This terrorist infrastructure is crumbling. It's coming down. We're bringing it down day after day. We're ahead of schedule. And I think we still have a few surprises up our sleeves as well. Don't underestimate the power of the Israel Air Force and the ingenuity of our defense industry.
CBS News correspondent Natalie Brann joins us now from the White House with more on all of this. Good morning to you, Natalie. So it seems as though President Trump is sharpening his online commentary toward Iran, and we know he had a meeting in the Situation Room yesterday. So what is the current plan?
Yeah, well, we know that meeting in the Situation Room lasted around an hour and 20 minutes. And in the room talking about what could be potential next steps included the vice president, defense secretary, secretary of state Rubio, also special envoy Witkoff, of course, someone who has been key in negotiations, and then also director of national intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. This meeting comes, as you noted, CBS has learned, according to sources, that the president is potentially considering joining Israel in strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. There's been a lot of reporting and focus in recent days on one site in particular, Fordow. That is where there is a uranium enrichment happening in a mountain underground, deep underground, and there's been talk that the U.S.'s bunker buster bomb could penetrate that. But CBS News also reporting that there is not at this point full agreement among the president's closest advisors. We also know, Errol, that the president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, but we did not get a readout on that call from the White House. But as you noted, in a series of social media posts, there was this kind of escalated rhetoric and a departure from what we've seen from the State Department in recent days in terms of careful statements that the U.S. is not involved offensively. The president, again, saying we have complete control of the skies over Iran, perhaps a reference to the U.S. Military assistance that Israel gets, also alluding to knowing where the supreme leader is, but saying for now he's safe, but again calling for unconditional surrender. And I want to note, Errol, an Iranian official speaking to Al Jazeera English said that any American intervention would be a recipe for an all-out war in the region.
Yeah, those comments really standing out, Natalie Brann, with the major details there. Thank you for that. Middle East reporter Courtney Keeley is following all of this for us from Washington. Courtney, good morning to you. We've been talking about this all week, and those comments by President Trump really do stand out. How will all of that, things like surrender, we won't kill the Ayatollah for now, how will that be viewed by the Iranian regime?
Well, the Iranian regime has already started reacting, and the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, on state television, his words were read out loud by a broadcaster with his picture, to his picture. And basically, the most important thing is he said, in the name of Haidar, the battle begins. Haidar in Shia Islam was the first imam in Shia Islam after that schism between Sunni and Shia. Iranians are Shia, but Haidar really represents martyrdom, messianic zeal, fighting to the death and then being honored if you die on the battlefield, whether that's a literal battlefield or that's a terrorist attack. This kind of martyrdom and this kind of symbolism is really critical to understand what the Ayatollah is saying. And also, the foreign minister said any U.S. intervention would be a recipe for an all-out war. So these are not light words. I mean, they're going back to, about 623 AD, as they have done. I've seen many times Hezbollah would invoke Haidar on Ashura. This sacrifice, this bloodletting is really what they're talking about. And it's the most much of a call to action, which is dangerous. Now, we did talk about, Errol, you and I, many times about Hezbollah really was decimated, but there are still key members of Hezbollah, not the leadership, but the loyalty in Lebanon. There's loyalty, Hamas, to the support of Iran and with the Houthis. And so this makes it dangerous for all of the U.S. forces all over the region, although the Iranians say, too, that they are sticking to the battle with the enemy, really, basically, which is Israel, and that Haidar, Ashura, then Khyber, which is near Medina, was a battle against Jews that Muslims won. So all evoking all this early martyrdom, sacrifice, courage in the name of a battle, all-out battle.
Ominous signs all around. Courtney Keeley, thank you very much. Now, at this moment, lawmakers from both parties are pushing to limit President Trump's ability to launch military strikes on Iran without congressional approval. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie and Democrat Ro Khanna have introduced a bipartisan war powers resolution demanding that only Congress can declare war under the Constitution. Senator Tim Kaine is leading a similar measure requiring approval unless it's in self-defense. Juliegrace Brufke is Capitol Hill reporter for 24 Site News, and she joins us now from Washington with more. Good morning to you, Juliegrace. How much support is there in Congress for this war powers resolution, and how exactly would it limit President Trump's authority on Iran specifically?
Now, it would prohibit any type of escalation of military action without congressional approval if it ultimately passes. Now, John Thune isn't in a huge rush to bring it to the floor. It's a privileged resolution. There's a handful of conservatives. I mean, we've seen Thomas Massie on the House side, but largely leadership's kind of stood with President Trump on this one. But it's going to be interesting to see how many conservatives join on in both sides of both chambers there.
Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he's testifying on Capitol Hill today. How are lawmakers expected to question him, and specifically on what?
Well, he's kind of come under fire for a number of things. So I think Signalgate will be something that comes up, and especially with the escalation of the tensions between Iran and Israel, sending additional defense mechanisms over to Israel and funding should be a big topic there. So I'm sure that lawmakers are going to be press him on that front on how much action they expect the United States to involve the military in direct hits on that front.
All right, Juliegrace Brufke, great to get your reporting. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.